The world is a small place. So if we treat someone right, before you know it, they're going to be your consumer for a long time and a lifetime. And perhaps with us, get an automotive and leisure and whatever it is. People are a lot more eager now to take their time to do their research and go online. And then that's where we come in. So, hey, let's make this easy for you. Let's make this a one-stop shop. Let's deliver the product to you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ashoka Maimona. I'm the host of today's interview on behalf of Smarter Loans. Our guest today is Richard Allouche, known as the banker of Sparta Finance, which is a broker specializing in boat, marine, auto, motorsports financing in Canada. And my understanding is Sparta Finance is on a mission to really improve and transform the motorsports, marine, leisure, auto buying experience in Canada. And you yourself, Richard, are quite a dynamic entrepreneur. So our viewers are quite excited. And myself, I'm quite excited to learn more about what you do and what Sparta Finance does. So we'll get right to it. First of all, if you don't mind letting us know more about Sparta Finance, I'll let you lead the story, but we're curious about the origin story, how it works, and what sets your company apart from counterparts.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me be a part of this. I'm very excited to share our story. Yeah, so first of all, I've been in the industry for almost a dozen years with my partner, Joseph Storzik, and started in the trenches, which means as an entry-level sales candidate, dropped out of high school at the age of 18 years old. Certainly tried. Ironically, my parents both come from master's degree and doctor degree in mathematics and education. And I mean, I just had a hard time focusing. And I always, even at the age of 16, kind of thought, oh, how can I build some sort of business or some sort of company? And my friend had convinced me that I could do sales, even though I was initially not the most bubbly or social person. I recall my first server job at Eastside Mario's. I was stumbling over my words at a table, and I got a lot of tips and tricks along the way from customers and feedback, and just how I could kind of change the way I spoke and such. So now we started at Nissan in Sherwood Park, and it was the number one Nissan Canada in the sense of volume and customer service in Canada, for 10 years. And there was a lot to be said about having the opportunity to be in such a fast-paced environment, especially as a young 18-year-old. And the average age group for a salesperson in the auto industry is, I would say, 35, 40, maybe a little older. So it was very intimidating and pushed me to excel. And now I'm sure everyone's been at a car dealership or a leisure dealership, and even just the thought of going car shopping can be a little, you clench your heart. And right away you think, oh gosh, okay, we have to plan this out. We have to map it out. Usually you go with a friend or it's a family kind of planning on, you see the salespeople are training in sales, but the family's also training on how are we going to tackle this? We have to pretend we're not that interested. We have to make sure that we don't give any information. We just there to look. Number one, that's kind of like an unfortunate situation in the last, I started in the 2000s. However, I know even earlier on, that's kind of, unfortunately, the auto industry created a bad name for itself, in my opinion. And being in many dealerships, we were quick to realize that unfortunately the system the auto industry is created under, the leisure industry created under, sometimes and in most times, the unfortunate part is that the tone from the top, which is ownership, and to its way down on our shareholders, is unfortunately you lose sight of customer service, and there's so much pressure on profit and commissions. And because of that, definitely there's a drop in the ball of customer service or transparency, because each person from sales to management to finance to ownership or even service and parts department is based on profitability and commissions. So my partner and I, we saw, wow, our hearts didn't align with it. Not trying to badmouth any dealership. However, just that's the pressure. And when you look at, especially today, with the world going virtual and everything, the level of overhead that there is to just run a dealership, to run an average dealership, is thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars a month without any staffing, just for the property, the product. Most products are lent. There's loans from the bank on the product on the lot that you see. So long story short, we had an opportunity to start a finance division at Nissan, and it was a department that they were going to close because it was for higher risk kind of clientele. And they gave us an opportunity. I was in the industry for about 4 years, and I so badly wanted to be a manager. And I said, challenge accepted. And I excelled. I excelled as a salesman because of my ability to connect with people, just to be myself. Initially, I realized that I wasn't succeeding my first few months in the industry because I was just copying just kind of quick sales words, sales tactics, and stuff like that. And I remember one of my last days that I almost gave up in the industry. I thought, oh, I don't know if I can do this. This is just, it's too robotic and too, I didn't, my heart wasn't there. But that's when I met someone who kind of just changed that within me when we connected on a personal level. It was such a fun experience. And then from that day on, I realized, wow, just be yourself. So we had a lot of fun. And that day and every day forward, I quickly became one of the top salespeople in the industry because of just being yourself, just keeping it fun and remembering how fun and awesome of an experience it can be and treating everyone like a friend or family. Going back to the opportunity to start that finance department, of course, my friend and my now partner, Joseph, who owns the company, Sparta Finance, we connected with customers on this level. But even on a deeper note, when we took this high risk lending, I guess, subprime department and tried to make it a success, we realized that a lot of the clients that are applying, especially in this area in Sherwood Park and in the Edmonton area, in northern and eastern Edmonton, and they were being told, no, you can't have this product, but they weren't being told why. So for years and years, we realized that this was a systematic issue, that when a consumer walks into a dealership, right away there's that tension because it's, oh, commission, that's a sale. Instead of seeing someone and wanting to connect with them on a personal level and seeing what is the most important, I guess, intention here. What is the intention? How can we serve these people? How can we help them? And once we started getting more customers, we developed a system where we sat down and we went over the credit and we explained, first of all, educated ourselves on it. Then we explained every aspect of credit that we could, what a credit score means, how to build your credit, what the banks look at, why it's important, why you're not getting this product for now, how we can start perhaps at a lesser product or a more secure product and build yourself up from there. And so we were doing that for several years. However, as I explained earlier, and to this day, I feel at the same time just the way that the future is going is, in our opinion, if you look at the dealership world, we believe that 10 years from now, the dealerships will be the blockbusters and companies like our Sparta Finance will be the Netflix, which we are becoming. And so for many reasons and many aspects, one, because we truly do put people first. Our foundation is built in such a way that we understand that our company is nothing without our consumers and the Spartans that work with Sparta Finance. And so we built it in such a way where we know that customers do come first and our company is nothing without the customers. And also just the way to educate and empower the consumer as well. So to explain to someone why and to just be a real person as a priority and to put profit. Of course, every business needs to make profit, but just to put that as secondary. So everything's flowing into place that way. Yeah. So the reason why Sparta Finance is because it's close to home. In the ancient times, they were one of the first civilizations that believed in equality amongst the people. This is, a couple thousand years ago. And so just believed, of course, in courage and a lot of very powerful foundations and morals. And we stand by that same conduct. Don't cheat, don't lie, don't steal, be transparent. And when we say we will go to war for you, it's because a lot of people we feel like have kind of been treated like a number and still are, where, oh, that person has bad credit, I'm going to put that on the back burner, or, oh, the bank said no, and that's the reality. There's a lot of consumers going to dealerships, they're applying, and the ones that may have better credit are going to get priority sequence, in our opinion, in the dealership world or in the banking world, where we will do whatever it takes to explain the story and the situation and pick up the phone and truly educate the consumer and explain that to the bank that, hey, this is the reason why this happened, and we've educated the consumer. And it doesn't matter even if you have, negative credit rating or an excellent credit rating, we're going to treat you the same no matter what. And so it's that mentality to treat everyone equally, to be honest at all times, to make sure that we prioritize their needs, to truly empower the consumer and to explain, why is this happening to you? Let's educate you on how to get yourself a credit card, how to set up automatic payments, and really dig deeper on perhaps why somebody, for example, who maybe works out of town and goes away for a month or two might have missed a few credit card payments because that's what happens, or perhaps gotten an incident and affected their credit rating, or all walks of life. And yeah, just the ability to be able to achieve that goal, to treat everyone equally.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Richard. And you've hit on a lot of interesting points that I would like to expand on, especially when you're talking about educating and empowering the customer. And I noticed that on the website as well, that Sparta Finance really focuses on educating and empowering customers, not just for their own good or your own good, but also for, I think, the broader future is what the language that's used. So, why do you think financial literacy is so important?
Well, 90% of the consumers that we speak with, they say the same thing. We were never taught this. And if we can't be the ones to educate the masses of just the people in our local community and across Canada who we serve, then who is it? Why is it not in our education system? Why is it not a mandatory course in high school? I think that it's extremely important. I believe there's the career and life management that's a mandatory course. I believe I'm not sure. It's been a while since I went to high school. However, why don't we include with resume writing how to understand credit and getting a loan, especially as a young adult when you're 18 years old and you're fearlessly going out into the world, getting a credit card. All of a sudden, you've got $500 or $1,000 to spend there, and maybe you weren't taught the tools to how to manage that or what the creditors are looking at. Little things such as you'll see a lot of young people who maybe again they don't have the tools to know to how to pay that credit card on time or how to get loans without a cosigner to build their credit independently, or perhaps having a credit card for several years, but leaving the limit at $500. So when that time comes, when you do apply for an auto loan or a leisure loan or a house even, it only appears to the bank that you've managed $500 versus taking on more credit to use as a tool. Not to say that you're going to use it to rely on, but to use it as a tool to make it appear that you can manage $5,000 or $10,000 over the course of that time, which would increase your credit score and the ability to receive money. And I mean, it's a big deal because getting a high interest rate versus a low interest rate, especially at a young age or at any age, could mean years and years of paying that debt back, or can mean the difference between getting a house or not. And so it's extremely important to us. We believe that financial knowledge and credit knowledge should be, in our opinion, a mandatory course for young adults. And I believe that it would build a brighter future for them to understand how credit works or just the banking system. Because in reality, I believe most Canadians rely on credit and loans and getting lending. I don't think that almost anyone can buy a house with cash or even a necessity such as an automobile. And there's a huge difference between an interest rate of 4.9% versus 15.9%. And so how can we educate? How can we empower? And how can we also give the tools to the consumers to be able to negotiate? And this is what we mean when we disagree with some of the mentality in the dealership world. And we're not here to judge or to blame. However, when the tone from the top is profit first, did you know that if you are qualified as a prime consumer for almost any asset, whether it's a mortgage or an automobile or a leisure product, that if you qualify for prime, typically it's up to that finance manager or broker that you're in the finance office with to give you the lower interest rate. And so there's a little bit of a lack of transparency there. For example, if you have excellent credit rating and you are buying a vehicle and you go into the finance office and now that specific finance manager has convinced you that the bank has qualified you for 7.9% when in reality you actually qualify for 3.9%. So there's a huge lack of transparency there. So how can I educate all consumers in all walks of life to negotiate your interest rate and to understand how the banks work and how commission works and how that on a $30,000 loan, the dealership will make $2,000 in return from the bank by convincing you to take 8% versus 3.9, for example. And so that's where we come in and we believe in being honest from the start and transparent and giving people the absolute truth and the absolute best result and whatever that person qualifies for, let's get them even better because we know that we will get more consumers that way. And that's when we say honesty is policy and just being transparent because we're talking thousands of dollars of a difference that you'll end up paying back the bank and for what to get a little bit extra commission. And so how can we continue to build this ability to educate the masses? So those are just some knowledge and information that I think we believe that would help a lot of consumers and Canadians.
And I completely agree. I mean, it was astounding to me, I guess, when I entered my 20s that a lot of these concepts were foreign, and they really shouldn't be. Like, knowing what a credit score is, that should be in high school. We should be taught that, interest rates. And I think it's not just for the sake of doing well in business or becoming an entrepreneur, but just basic knowledge to be a customer in Canada, and to ever, if you want to own a home, or what you guys do to own, motorsports or cars or leisure equipment. Another thing I found interesting, Richard, that you said was your analogy of the blockbusters, so dealerships being blockbusters, and Sparta Finance and your counterparts being Netflix. So if you could just expand on that and tie it into what is the state of the industry right now? I mean, you're specifically looking at automobiles, but if you want to broaden it to some of the other offerings you guys have and where you think it's headed.
Yeah, definitely. So we've been, I believe, ahead of the curve. And luckily for companies such as Amazon and eBay and I guess Skip the Dishes and Uber, they've helped us kind of get ahead of the curve and come to the belief and understanding to go with the flow. So to see where this flow is going in this niche and kind of follow that. So if we look at the mentality that Amazon has, I'm not sure if you've ordered from Amazon or have ordered something online. Typically, they have an amazing guarantee and return policy. We'll have accounts like PayPal accounts because we know that that's secure and we're comfortable with that. Now, one that eliminates the stress of having to go out and go into the dealership world and talk to many different salespeople. So I believe there's a huge stress relief. It also empowers the consumer to be able to shop online, to gain that knowledge, to gain that information. We have places like YouTube and customer ratings and reviews all over the place. And that helps a lot to be able to have that virtual experience. On top of that, when a company like ours, we've been doing it for a while now, where we were able to create a one-stop shop. So where we are able to give this type of experience and opportunity for a consumer to approach us and just to feel, wow, what a friendly and family type experience. This truly was, I feel like I'm being treated differently than I have in the past, regardless of perhaps where that place was, just to really put your needs first and be honest with you from the start. And secondly, to be able to deliver right to the consumer's doorstep and to be able to hold their hand along the way in the sense that, hey, we're going to be here no matter what. And kind of going back a little bit on what I was saying before is we believe that the automotive and leisure and many dealerships or that industry, as we know it still to this day, sometimes we forget, we lose grasp of that long-term thinking where we think, oh, what does 5 years or 10 years look like from now? Or am I really thinking about today with the consumer or tomorrow? Or how would I like to be treated in this situation? Wouldn't I like to know the truth? Or I should probably do the right thing in this sense. The consumer maybe doesn't need that product, or I should give them that better interest rate, for example. Let's set them up for success tomorrow. And also it builds that really amazing experience and relationship, because I believe that the consumer is going to go in the future. I believe sometimes, the truth comes out, or they'll be talking to friends. Oh, wow, you got such a high interest rate, or, oh, I got that product for less, for example. And what that creates is it creates a little bit of resentment in the industry. People talk, friends and family. I believe that referrals is the biggest way to expand your business. And the world is a small place. So if we treat someone right, before you know it, they're going to be your consumer for a long time and a lifetime. And perhaps with us, get an automotive and leisure and whatever it is. Now, going back to how this is, not only is that mentality kind of, I think, pushing consumers away from perhaps the dealership world and banking and stuff, but I believe people are a lot more eager now to take their time to do the research and go online. And then that's where we come in. So, hey, let's make this easy for you. Let's make this a one-stop shop. Let's deliver the product to you. Let's guarantee the product. Let's certify the product. Let's make sure that we can help you get your insurance and registration in place. If not, set it up for you, and we'll even get it delivered to your doorstep. Hey, that product doesn't show up the way we promised. No questions asked. You need new tires. Let's get you new tires. It needs an oil change. Let's get you an oil change. With COVID in the world right now, as intense as everything is, it's helped amplify companies like ours, where people are a lot more comfortable to shop online. And especially with the company and the brand that we've built, to be able to have served so many consumers already in the past few years this way, where yes, we've done deals and we've done loans that some dealerships I've been yelled at in the past for, like, how can you do something like that? That's not profitable, or and gotten in arguments with past partnerships, for example, because we're truly looking at, it's not about the money. If we're in the positive, we're going to do it no matter what. So Now, another opportunity is the consumer can actually find their product themselves. So they can touch it, feel it, smell it, and perhaps the bank might not lend them the money. Now we can buy that product in, we can recertify it, we can guarantee it, we can make sure that that's a good, secure product, and then we can finance it to the consumer too. And that's the best part. So what a free world. And you know that by going through us, we're going to get you the best result. We're going to educate you. Plus, we're going to make sure that we set you up for success where we teach you how to build your credit long term. So we're going to ensure that perhaps you get an auto or you went and found yourself an RV or a fishing boat or a mini yacht, for example. And we're going to do whatever it takes to try to help you get that product that you want. But we're also going to teach you how to get a credit card perhaps with that loan so that both of these are now really building your credit. And we have a lot of success stories where we've had consumers start at 15, 20% interest and go down to 3% within a year, or even buy a house within a few years. And so it feels very good to be able to build a family and to be able to build on that and to be able to just be there long term. So, and that's what we're thinking. So, in a nutshell, we truly believe that the businesses with this model that Amazon, for example, has created, where it's no questions asked, as crazy as that sounds, a consumer calls you 2 or 3 months later and something happens as, let's say, just as devastating as, I don't know, maybe the transmission, something happened that's very major. We want to be there. We have an emergency kitty going so that we want to be there just to make sure that we help that consumer, because a lot of consumers sometimes, whether it's an automobile or a leisure product, many times you'll hear, why didn't you pay that bill back to the bank? Oh, well, they didn't help me. My engine blew after 3 months and they said they wouldn't help me. So we want to be the difference. We want to show people that it's them first and the money will continue to come. And we really love the way that Amazon does that with their consumers. And we want to build the same type of industry where it's almost a no questions asked, within reason, of course. But we understand that this product, there's so many things that can happen, and we want to do whatever it takes to set you up for success. So I can safely say that we believe that there's almost no company in this industry that is willing to guarantee the product to the point that we are and ensure that the customer is 100% happy.
No, I definitely agree. I think the industry has really been disrupted the last couple of years, and I'm excited to see where it's headed. And I'm sure I'll glean more information from you in the years to come. But in terms of right now, what are some challenges that perhaps your customers are facing to get approved, or some other perhaps trends or innovations on the ground? Let's perhaps start with the challenges bit.
I think, especially with COVID, we've recognized that the banks are kind of like a roller coaster. It's sometimes bizarre. If there's a bit of, I guess there's consumer delinquency. So unfortunately, some of the banks will branch everyone into one category. And all of a sudden, the same consumer that applied 1 month ago and got approved is now declined. And there's no way of turning that around. And then all of a sudden, another month goes by and then the banks are like, oh, we didn't do enough loans. Let's be more aggressive. So not all the banks, but some banks kind of, unfortunately, there's a bit of, especially with the uncertainty with COVID. All I can say is for the consumer, the best thing to do is to make sure that before applying for a loan, to take a look at our website, the Sparta Finance, the credit building tab. It'll teach you everything that you need to know about what the banks look at, how credit ratings work, what are the most important factors, and how to get your recent credit up to date. Luckily, with our system, the banks are extremely forgiving. For sure, we're in a very blessed system in that sense. Now, just like insurance, if you get in a lot of accidents or some speeding tickets, you're now going to be into a higher risk category until you can prove you're a safe driver. So I think it's the same way with credit. So first of all, what have you done recently? I think the banks are looking at that a lot. What have you done recently? So anyone in this entire country can get a secured credit card from places like Refresh Financial or Capital One. So accountability is extremely important. So yes, life happens and things happen and the banks understand that. And we're very blessed, like I said, to have that system. Now, let's make sure we're being accountable. Get yourself a secured credit card, put $300 towards it, use it as a tool. You're going to buy groceries, you're going to buy fuel, you're going to buy something anyways. Use that credit card, pay it off. Use that for 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And then that'll be huge difference in increasing that credit score rating and at least just starting even at a higher risk, just like you would in insurance. Now, the key again in our credit building tab will explain this is not staying stuck in that. So getting that credit card and then also getting, let's say, a fixed leisure loan or a fixed automotive loan, build that credit quickly, try to put a little bit extra money towards it so you're paying the principal quicker, and let's trade you out of that in 12 months or 18 months, or there's possibly refinance options where you can lower that interest rate once you've rebuilt that trust. So yeah, it's accountability, I believe, is important, but also just understanding to be patient, I guess. And sometimes depending on your credit situation, is it a necessity or is it not? And what can you do to help you build that credit rating up, I guess?
Mhm.
Some of the challenges I believe we have in this country is, I guess for us, we're lucky or we're willing to take the risk to be ahead of the curve. But if you look just across the border, a consumer can go to, there's these vending machines set up. Believe it or not, it's shocking. I think it's car something. However, if you have an average or above average credit score rating, you can go up to this vending machine, do an application on the vending machine, and literally pick a car that you want, and it'll bring the car down, in my opinion, 10, 15 years ahead of us.
Yeah.
So, here we are as consumers. We're like, oh, wow, you got this vehicle delivered to your house. You didn't even see it. And if from a
Yeah.
company that's reputable and they're guaranteeing it. But just, out in Seattle, you can go buy a car from a vending machine, or it's
Incredible.
mind blowing what they have going on in the States. And I think that we need to step it up. I believe on this end, we need to be willing to take more risks and to be more innovative and
Mhm.
kind of maybe follow the trend over there because yeah, they're light years ahead of us. I believe that soon enough we'll see mostly dealerships turning into possibly service centers and the Tesla model where you literally just pick the color that you want and all these things, and then a few months later your vehicle will show up and do it all kind of virtual.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. I mean, of course, it's a little not ideal to share such a border with the States in terms of them being light years ahead of us in terms of innovations and trends. But at the same time, it's great to see them do it first. That way, we can iron out all the kinks and then apply the best model here, hopefully in less than 10 years from now, because that would be really interesting. But it is good to analogize and hopefully not get too downtrodden that we're so perhaps behind in some respects. In terms of demand for capital, I know I've read a lot of news stories. Of course, a lot of Canadians have struggled the past 15, 16 months with COVID. But at the same time, there have been many Canadians who have done well and they're looking to spend. So, what are you seeing on the ground?
Yeah, actually, the company just came to mind. Their name is Carvana, but just to kind of finish that off, I think that it's really important that also as Canadians, it's nice to have the human interaction. So I hope we can keep that alive as well, especially for, I think that helps complete the experience. And perhaps in the situation right now, yeah, like I've again been in this industry for a dozen years and I've never seen anything like this where there's such a huge demand for supplies for all sorts of products. The leisure industry is just, wow, it's busier than I've ever seen it, and you can't get products. Almost everything new is sold out from every brand: Yamaha, Can-Am, Kawasaki. There's a shortage of trucks. There's a shortage of supplies for parts because just of everything that's happened with COVID. And people can't really travel much. So now what they're doing is, I guess, for our own mental health, we're getting hobbies and we're finding things that we can do, such as going out off-roading, going on our dirt bike, ATVing, boating, fishing, going out on the boat with the family. That's, all your vacation money, all your travel money, you're putting it towards this. It's, in a sense, it's very beautiful to see families wanting to do this. You'll see families wanting to get a couple of quads so that they can go, a couple can go out, or a father's son or daughter can go out and explore and off-road. So that's very beautiful. And we get pictures as well in return from a lot of our consumers, and to see them out in the field, it's just so cool, or them on their boat fishing and stuff like that. So that's pretty amazing. However, it's definitely thrown a kink in the industry. There's definitely an increase in pricing. A lot of products, even private sales, have gone up a lot. And then again, not many people have capital to go and purchase, to pay 20 or 30 or $40,000 even on the private purchases. So they'll try to apply with the bank perhaps, and they might not get approved. Whereas with us, they'll come through us, and we'll do what it takes to make sure, like I said, we'll buy that in, certify it and stuff like that. However, again, the issue is the prices are certainly higher than usual because there's such a shortage of supplies. A private seller will put a quad up online, doesn't matter what year it is. If it looks decent, someone will buy it usually 24, 48 hours, because we're also trying to stock our inventory up and things are selling very quickly. We're trying to keep up with the demand for people as well. So it's been interesting for sure. And I think that it's going to be like that for a while. I think it's going to be like that for at least another year or more, because the manufacturers are also out of stock. The RV world as well. A lot of people are wanting to at least camp within their, wherever they're allowed to go. And there's a shortage of everything. And because of that, there's an influx in the price. Gosh, it's interesting
Yeah.
because if you pay so much more money now and perhaps you got a higher interest rate, what does the 2 years from now look like? Are you going to now have an asset that's worth way less, and you owe so much money? So I don't know what a few years looks like, but it's definitely created an imbalance for sure.
hmm No, I think there's a lot of considerations at play there in the supply issue. I mean, I think it's also surprising despite COVID because manufacturing has continued almost full throttle since I would say the summer, right? So it's interesting that the supply issue has continued. I mean, I'm sure you could speak to that, but I think what our customers, what our viewers would really like to know is your tips on how to sort of mitigate some of these possible downsides in the circumstances of the industry right now. So if someone were to go out and buy, let's say, a new leisure craft, what are your tips? How would you guide this person through the current scenario?
Yeah, for sure. So, number one, if you're going through a dealership, keep in mind a lot of advertising out there is created in a way where and again, unfortunately, this is why dealerships are going to turn into blockbusters gradually. It's part of the reason. They create this bait and switch mentality where perhaps the product is not actually available. And it's kind of like going fishing with a lure and then having you show up to the dealership or contact them to try to switch you to a different product. And that's, in our opinion, not transparent. So be wary of that. But secondly, be the bigger person, come from a higher place. Just know that it is hard to work in the dealership industry. So let's give people a chance and be open to the opportunity to work with others, because I believe that that's important, especially when you're going shopping. It's going to make your life easier once you connect with somebody in that industry. And also just request transparency from the beginning, going in and having that stance that, hey, you know what? I know that this product might not be available, but this is what I'm after. So instead of getting upset or frustrated, knowing that perhaps the local Yamaha dealership, you want a certain type of product, and maybe that person can help make sure that by you educating yourself, you getting, a good deal on it, and maybe doing a factory order, a special order on something like that, and just educating yourself. And things like I explained, like once you get to finance, make sure you negotiate that interest rate. Most banks, you'll have the opportunity that if you're approved at 7%, you can get 3 or 4%, depending on the product, of course, but always fight for the lowest interest rate, no matter what. Now, on top of that, don't be afraid to go private. Once you're going private, make sure that you get a professional eyes on the machine. So most heavy duty most mechanics can look at almost any leisure product. Most people know a friend, or perhaps there's someone local who'd be willing to travel to go look at the product with you. And that extra 100, 150 or $200, or you get it to a local mechanic shop to get a checkout on it. If there's not much of that product around, don't be afraid to buy it, and don't be afraid to spend a little bit of money on stuff, because everything in this industry we always say is fixable. So, you can always replace a part, and it's amazing the genius of human beings to be able to build these machines, but to be able to replace parts. And so don't be afraid of stuff like that. Yeah, on boats and RVs, make sure, of course, you always get an inspection. Boats get a survey. It's worth the investment. Once you get almost to that finish line, just make sure you're secure. We can get very emotional right now of how fast things are moving, but the last thing you want to do is to buy an RV and know that, just like a house, there's maybe some water or mold damage, and before you know it, that's $5,000 or $6,000 worth of damage and underneath there. So if you can get your own and funds in place, definitely just make sure you get that product certified. Or if you go through a company like us, we'll make sure that that product is certified as well.
hmm No, that's fantastic advice. Thank you so much, Richard. Is there anything else do you think our viewers, your customers would like to know or should know right now that we haven't touched on?
I think most importantly, make sure that you are educating yourself. Take the time to do your research, see what's out there. If it's too good to be true, it is. And just do your research. We can get very emotional and excited when it comes to products. So just make sure that you know what you're using this product for, whether it's a car or a motorcycle or a dirt bike or a quad. And for a boat, there's amazing courses online to get your boat license, and it's very educational. Or for an ATV or a motorcycle, again, invest into yourself. I think that's the most important lesson. Invest into yourself, whether it's courses, whether it's knowledge and education about the product, whether it's a 3-day bike course, whether it's a boat course, something like that. I think that's extremely important. A lot of times you'll see someone get excited and then realize it's the wrong product, or maybe not know how to use the product. So I think knowledge is power. I think that's extremely important. And then also, depending on your credit situation, is it a need or is it a want? Can you balance the two? That's important. And just remembering that, can I make these bill payments 6 months from now? So yes, I'm excited to have a quad right now. I can't use it in the winter. Am I going to make sure I'm still making those payments? Because I picture Mount Everest, and once you go get yourself a credit card, or you have an excellent credit rating, and you're climbing, 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 and you're paying all your bills on time. But if you make one payment that's late, even, and it goes 30 days late, it's like falling halfway down the mountain. And so that's extremely important. So I think just slow down, balance your needs and wants, educate yourself, always get an inspection, and remember just to keep it a fun experience. It should be a fun experience. And I think having a balanced life is important. So yes, like get your toys, have fun, have an RV, have a quad, as long as you can afford it. We all work very hard, and it's amazing to be able to have these products. So I think that's the best kind of advice that I can give. And if anyone can help, it's us, Sparta Finance. We'd love to help you.
I love the energy and the philosophy of you and the rest of the Spartans. I love the focus on customer service and financial literacy. So I think our viewers have learned a lot. In terms of what's next for you and the team, or is there anything that you can share or you'd like to share?
Yeah, so right now we're just passing our 4-year mark. We're expanding our team. And again, we're called Spartans because of our philosophy of how we see you, how we want to treat you. We understand that right away you're our family. We're going to be here right away. If something happens 6 o'clock at night, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, your car broke down, like we'll help you out. We're here to help. We're solution focused, and we truly believe we're building a company unlike any other where we're able to service the entire country. And we're establishing, we have a delivery company in Manitoba, which is very central. And we have the team of Spartans in the retail division here on Vancouver Island, our Edmonton office, and we're continuously expanding our ideas and our thoughts. And also just we have the ability to connect to dealer partners across Canada. So if you're after a certain product, we can go right in and kind of give you a VIP access to, let's say, the dealership next door. So let us get in there for you and make sure you get that product and make sure you get the best and the best and the best. And that's very important. So yeah, just expanding and being able to just deliver, being able to just really make it a fun, seamless experience so you can just focus on work and your family and everything like that, and let us take away that stress. And I think as we build this brand, you'll see a lot more of us, and we are who we say we are. And I think that that's going to kind of continuously rise to the surface. I think it's very refreshing to, oh, wow, they did what they said, or, oh, wow, this, and it happens. It shows up and it's not perfect. So what's the solution? Let's make you happy. And we want you to be happy. So I think that that's extremely important. And I think that it'll be refreshing to continue to see what we're up to and what we're doing. And we also give back to the local community. A portion of every single loan goes back to the local community, those experiencing homelessness and struggling with mental health. And that's extremely important to us. So, we're in the trenches too, giving back. You can check that out on our About Us page. So we really are a company built from a place of heart and a place of, as we grow, we want to continue to do better and as good as we can to give back to others as well.
That's really refreshing to hear. Thanks so much for your time today and all your stories and advice, Richard. I'm sure our viewers will really benefit from everything you've said today. And if they want to learn more about Sparta Finance, you mentioned the About page. If you wouldn't mind saying what the website is so our viewers can log.
Yeah, so it's www.sparta, Sparta, finance.ca. Check out all the tabs, the About Us page, check out the credit building tab. You can see what we're up to real time. You can meet the staff as well. And of course, if you're interested in a loan, you can apply with us as well.
All right. Well, thanks again. Well, and especially I see your team is in there and you probably had to tell them to come in a bit later. I'm sure they didn't mind that part. But thank you for
For
coming
sure.
in, for coming in earlier for this. It was a pleasure speaking to you, Vlad. And Raphael told me great things about you. So it was great to meet you this way. But hopefully soon we can all get back on planes. And for now, the leisure crafts will do.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You have a wonderful day.
You too. Take care, Richard. Bye.